speed! Go!
Hey guys, my name's DocJade. Welcome back to Factorio Space Age. Today we are making our first space platforms. To make said platform though, we're going to need a couple more research rockets. But we don't have enough copper for low density structure, since we don't have enough ore input. So down we go to add more miners, then I'll give the same treatment to the other patch. Which I now need to connect. Looks like I'll have to bring it through the middle of oil processing. With copper back up to speed, I'll upgrade the output belts, then start researching the space platform. The platform foundation that you build on is made out of steel and copper wire. Then there's the starter pack, which you launch into space to create a platform, and finally the cargo bay, which increases the amount of storage you have on the platform. A couple research rockets later, I preemptively placed platform production, which is going to eat even more steel from our already iron deficient base. Oh boy. Next up is asteroid collection, which unlocks the collectors and the crusher, which breaks down the three types of asteroid chunks into iron, carbon, and ice respectively. After moving the cargo landing pad, so I don't have to hand deliver science, I saw plastic is desperately low on petroleum. The oil field of 3 pump jacks is slower than a narcoleptic tortoise, so we'll have to get this oil patch down here pretty soon. Although, a lack of plastic isn't quite the main bottleneck. That award is still stolen by steel. There's plenty more iron to be had down south though, so I ripped it out and packed it more densely with miners. Using robots to do my bidding, I'll surround the iron patch with walls as well, since the pollution output is going to be quite a lot higher now. A second belt of iron and asteroid collection later, next is Space Science 2, Electric Boogaloo. A couple upgraded iron belts later, we can get back to worrying about this space platform, since I've already forgotten about oil. There's 3 types of asteroid chunks, so I'll probably need a collector and crusher for each type. But no point in crafting them before I can place them. We've only made 3 platforms so far. We need 60 to make the starter pack. And on top of that, our power situation is getting so bad that we're now consuming our entire supply of coal just to keep the lights on. Nuclear seems like the obvious choice. Kovarak's enrichment is only another 2 rocket launches away, and we need the 235 for the space science anyway, which we now have. To make the centrifuges to fix the power issues, we need, yet again, more steel. Which, since we're low on power, steel is extra slow. Let's unlock the reactor first. I managed to scrape together enough materials for 2 merry-go-rounds, and since you can filter any kind of inserter now, putting the 2 types of uranium on different sides of the belt is way easier than before. When we send the uranium up to be used in space science, there's a 90% chance we'll get the uranium back. So we can expect around 10 crafts of each magic rock to produce around 500 science. Doesn't seem too bad. But running those spinning machines takes quite a lot of power, so I'll make some efficiency modules for the iron mine, then automate the other 3 types of modules with quality. A couple quality speed modules would be really nice for speeding up the centrifuges. While the uranium spins, we've got excess ore input, nuclear power, so time for even more steel production. Putting stuff wherever it fits is definitely my favorite way to play. After suddenly remembering that oil patch, I'll enclose it and pump it out. I also finished mining part of the first iron patch. With the pipe properly plugged in, the oil setup is back up to speed, and somehow the chemical plant for flamethrower ammo got destroyed. No idea how that happened. We now have enough space platforms for the starter pack, so I'll craft that and throw it into the rocket, which is completely filled by it. Once the platform had a fitting name, I hit create and waited for the rocket to be elevated. Making a platform unlocked a couple tips and tricks. Space platforms are built completely remotely and automatically, which looks awesome, and you can send resources and construction materials up to the platform with additional rockets. It can even request them automatically. You can also fly the platform around between planets with a schedule just like trains. Getting stuff back down from the platform is easy too. You just set a logistics request in the landing pad on the ground. The platform we start with has a ring of foundation around the hub, and an extra 10 tiles to build with. The little asteroid chunks get destroyed when they hit the platform, but they don't seem to do any damage. So cool. But before we can space out, we need to get Navis into a stable state, so here comes the nuclear reactor. I'll build just one for now. I don't have any uranium-235 to send up yet, but assuming both types of uranium weigh the same, we can send 20 per rocket, which should net around 10,000 science. Seems like a fair trade to me. I sent up some more cargo space, a couple solar panels, chemical plants for some reason, and some assemblers. Then back to the uranium setup, in goes the enrichment loop, which is a lot easier to set up the conditions for, thanks to the new belt reader option. But we still don't have enough 235 for our catalyst, so I'll move the centrifuges over. I made 3 asteroid collectors and sent them up, more centrifuges, then I'll expand the space platform's cargo space. Then I put the collectors on the right edge of the platform, added solar, and the arms got to work grabbing chunks. I placed the assembler for the science, but I'm already out of space platforms again, so I'll have to wait for more. Kovacs. Now I'll cue Productivity 2. Every bit of productivity counts, since we have to send up so many rockets to deliver building supplies to the space platform. The rockets sure do eat a lot of copper. I shipped some more foundation up to Lonsewi, along with some crushers for processing the asteroid chunks. But I realized I could make this setup look a lot nicer if I directly inserted the asteroid chunks into the platform hub. So I rearranged it, and used circuit conditions to make sure we don't completely fill the hub with chunks. Then went in the crushers, which once I set the recipes, I hooked up the same way. Now all we need is that uranium. I'll send up the 3 I've made so far, along with a furnace to smelt the iron ore. Once that arrived, that's space science in space. I set the landing pad on Navis to request the science, and the platform started shooting little pods of science back down. Space platform logistics are a lot easier than I thought they would be. Productivity 2. I would do the space platform thruster next, but I really want to get a better uranium supply going first. I added a few more assemblers for the science up there though. Since the module researches are cheap, I'll unlock level 2s of all of them, then beacons, so we can centrifuge the uranium faster. We already have a couple uncommon speed modules to put in them. After all the research finished, I queued some inserter capacity, then logistics robots, and the logistics chests. 500 space science is the same as the thruster, but oh well, these will be more useful in the short term. Uranium is going well, almost too well. The uranium train can't keep up with demand anymore, so I'll plug it into the main power grid instead of running it off of just solar. I was out of big power poles, so mediums will have to do. There's always one. More power means more pollution, so I'll add more laser turrets. A couple beacons later, we're still not getting enough delivered, so I rebuilt the mine. I must be super unlucky. We still only have 5 uranium-235. Logistics robots, then research slowed to a crawl. The labs are out of automation science. That's a new one. Since I could never make up my mind, I switched the research to automation 3, then built some more science. I may be unlucky with uranium and women, but I did get lucky with this uncommon productivity 2 module. I'll put it in the silo, then upgrade all of the labs to productivity 2 as well. Once again changing my mind, lab research speed, then automation 3, and the space platform thruster. The thruster is pretty cheap, and I was worried that making the thruster fuel would be complicated, but both the fuel and the oxidizer are made with only asteroid ingredients, so they're pretty much free. Moving the platform that makes science around would be pretty silly, so it's time for a second platform that we'll use for transport. I'm not sure how many turrets or ammo production I'll need to defend myself from asteroids while the platform is moving, but since I plan on keeping the platform pretty small, hopefully 4 will do. 2 asteroid collectors will go in the front to pick up the debris from shooting asteroids, which will then make their way backwards to the cargo hub. Might as well put a 5th turret here. I went to launch up more supplies, then remembered that rockets have logistics requests, which in turn reminded me that I built a fully automatic crafting machine in a test world, which I'll import. The machine, which I'm calling the Auto Mall, takes in requests from the logistics network and automatically crafts any items that aren't in storage. So, if I request inserters in this buffer chest, the machine will start asking for the materials to craft it, and if those materials aren't available, it will tell other AutoMall modules to craft the ingredients for it, and so on. For now, I'll tell it to make all the materials to replicate itself, place some bots, set up provider chests, and that's the thruster. A bit of configuring the mall later, I'll let it run in the background. Time to send up the asteroid collectors, some crushers, and a thruster. The thruster takes 2 fluid ingredients as inputs, but they don't tile nicely next to each other, so I'll just build one to keep it simple. To process the asteroid chunks, I'll put the crushers behind the hub, and discard any extra chunks by throwing them into space with these inserters. For the chemical plants, we'll need one to melt the ice down into water, then one for the fuel and oxidizer. Then we'll need ammo for the turrets, so an electric furnace to smelt iron plates, and an assembler to craft the ammo, which I'll move up front to keep things tidy. After shipping the missing buildings up, we start making the ammo and thruster fluids. A couple more panels for solar later, we're pretty much ready to go. except I forgot to set filters on the inserters, so I was throwing away foundation on accident. Hopefully the skinny form factor will help us avoid hitting asteroids later. We're going to head to Vulcanus, but we can't get somewhere if we don't know where it is. So time to research it. 1000 science is pretty steep. It says here we can only cross lava with elevated rails, so we should research those as well. Navis is almost self-sufficient. We're getting pretty close to being able to enrich now. Just 2 to go. Elevated rail. Those take refined concrete to craft, so I'll put it over by the refinery. And a second reactor because I felt like it. I'll tell the robots to keep one of everything on hand, so we can build on Navis remotely if we need to. Enrichment is finally running, but we can make it go a lot faster with some peer pressure. Once I had an additional 40 uranium-235, I added a second centrifuge. Vulcanus. Taking another look at the planet, looks like we can get coal and 2 new resources that I don't know the names of yet. Since we'll need to build a new base from scratch on Vulcanus, we'll need a bunch of base supplies and ingredients. So I shipped up what I thought would be a good mix of materials. Once we get to Vulcanus, we can ship stuff down by throwing it into a trash slot, which will launch capsules back down to whatever planet you're above. With the uranium returned to the loop, I went to hop in the rocket, but you can't bring anything with you, except for your armor and guns. Once I dumped all my stuff, up I go. After landing in the hub, I'll tell the platform to head to Vulcanus. Since our platform is so small, we start accelerating rapidly. We should be able to get to Vulcanus pretty quickly, except the turrets couldn't quite keep up with the asteroids, and Mick platform here has started taking damage. Losing one of the asteroid collectors was pretty devastating, but I kept going, making sure to keep my eye out for asteroids before hitting ramming speed. But one furnace wasn't nearly enough to keep up with the ammo demands of the turrets, so I had to stop and restock. The asteroids do keep coming while you're stopped though, and it appears the space platform will use repair packs to repair itself. Pretty quickly we had a new issue though. The small asteroid chunks seem to be pretty rare out here, and when I went to expand the platform to smelt some more iron, I realized I forgot to bring more foundations with me.
I threw it all into space! Oh no, I can't even
By carefully removing any extra platforms, I was able to build more iron smelting, but unfortunately, there isn't any iron to smelt. So I had to keep moving without ammo, hoping not to crash into anything. But every time I moved, more asteroids spawned in front, which we are defenseless against without ammo, and we can't make more ammo without shooting the asteroids. After making the situation worse by throwing precious iron into space, I went for the Hail Mary approach, which I quickly abandoned due to severe damage. Very carefully, I slowly pulsed the rocket to move forwards, since it seemed the only way I could get more chunks to spawn was to keep moving. Then I remembered I have lasers. They barely did anything. I thought I might be able to take out at least a couple asteroids and restock with just laser turrets. So I deconstructed the thruster assembly and built more solar panels. But even then, still not enough power. Worse yet, by removing the thruster, I lost all of the fuel I had in the pipes, so now I can't even move. After a very long time of waiting around for enough resources to eventually pass, I slowly built a fuel buffer, then decided it was now or never, and full sent the entire platform at Vulcanus, not caring how much got destroyed. Eventually, I made it. I'll send myself down and take a quick look around. This tree is permanently on fire, and mining it makes more fire. I'll send down the landing pad. Then sent down everything from the space platform. Asteroids are still hitting McSpace here, so to prevent losing anything, I'll tear down the whole platform besides the hub, and send it all down as well. The hub might survive on its own out here, but I'm not very optimistic. But regardless, we're on Vulcanus, and there's a demolisher going for a stroll. Hopefully we have enough materials to get a base going, but we'll have to find out next time. I'd like to take a moment to thank my supporters on Ko-fi. Honestly, the space platforms are a lot different than I was expecting. Using them to move materials between planets automatically with schedules sounds like it'll be very cool, but I'll definitely need to build platforms with more defenses on them. And that's all for today. My name's DocJade. Bye-bye.